Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a really exciting show today. I'm really excited to get into it. But before I do, I want you to join us. So I thank you for joining me here at my Balanced Life show. I'm a conversation that connects to a healthier you. I'm here twice a month, second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And you can catch the shows on my YouTube channel after the fact as well, if you go to Balanced Life by Debbie at YouTube. So I want you to call in today because we are going to be talking about dating. And there's a big population out there, I know, I'm one of them, who is dating and dating over 40. So we've got a really good, compelling conversation about that. But you need to call us. So we're here at 323-843-2826. So call in, ask a question, make a comment, or go to my Facebook page, which is Fit by Design, otherwise known as Balanced Life by Debbie. Make a comment, ask a question there, and myself or Jonathan, my guest today, will get back to you. I'm also on Instagram at Balanced Life by Debbie, so you can go there. The show is not streaming live there, but it is streaming live on my Facebook page. So here we go. On the roller coaster ride on today's show, we're going to dig into the question of why is most dating advice crap? Okay? As a health, nutrition, and fitness professional, I have spent a lot of time in locker rooms where I find myself listening to the dating stories of single women where they compare dates, they attach types to the men that they date, and they basically pondered, where did they go wrong? So today we're going to talk to my expert that's here with us today to navigate this very confusing dance that some of us are faced with at this time in our life. So known as the leading midlife dating and relationship coach, Jonathon Aslay is a defender and protector of women's hearts around the world. He helps women transform from attracting Mr. Wrong into finding their Mr. Right. Jonathon is a successful entrepreneur, coach, speaker, and author of his new book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Jonathon is like a guy spy to the male mind who truly understands the way a single or divorced man thinks and acts. He is a master at helping women recognize and distinguish the difference between men who are emotionally unavailable and those who are truly ready for love. Will you please welcome to my show today my guest, Jonathon Aslay.
Hey.
Welcome, Jonathan. There's our audience, because we do have an audience listening, so we put the applause in for them.
All right. God,
Hi.
Who wrote that?
That introduction?
Yeah, God, I want to meet that guy. Just kidding.
That's it's a mouthful, and I think you're all that. Now, so I've been following you.
Yeah.
For since we knew that you were coming on the show, which is about a month now.
Yeah.
And so you're doing so much to help the dating world, I must say.
Yeah.
You put out video blogs like every other day or so. You have a YouTube channel that's archived with all kinds of titles, whatever somebody's going through with dating.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a wealth of information for the midlife dating scene.
Yeah.
And as soon as we became friends on Facebook, I was like, whoa, I got to get that guy on my show because I'm baffled. As you know, I've been single for a while and I've had a lot of experiences that can be compared to some of my girlfriends as well and other people that I know. So before we dig into this whole dating advice is crap stuff that you're going to explain, I would like to hear about you because I don't know anything about you and I want to know a little bit about where you grew up.
Okay.
And how you kind of sit where you sit today. So, because that always tells a good story.
Hey, I'm a product of Southern California, born and raised. Parents from another country. So it was a little bit awkward growing up with parents from a foreign country because I felt different than the American kids.
What country, may I ask?
My parents were from Istanbul, Turkey.
Oh, okay.
And so even just a little bit about the name Turkey, got a little bit of like gobble gobble, and because of Thanksgiving and everything.
So were you bullied a little when
I
you
was
were a kid?
I was a little bit bullied. I
You
also
talk about it in your book.
Did I? I forgot I did.
I read his book.
Yeah. No. Thank you. But I grew up middle class, like most folks, and I'm very blessed to have great parents and siblings, and went to high school, went to college, and I followed the format that I was raised with. Was, I was told to graduate high school, go to college, then get a job, meet a girl, get married, buy a house, start a family.
So I think that's generational too.
Yes,
that
for the
was
baby
our
boomers.
generation.
Yeah, that's for baby
boomers. Yes.
And and also for those early Gen Xers, they were a byproduct of that. And I followed that script perfectly. I met a girl when I was in my mid-20s. She represented she looked good on paper, so to speak.
That's right.
And
had the credentials.
Yeah, exactly. And my credentials were simple. I was attracted to her, and she came from a good family and had a college education.
Yeah.
And I actually did kind of have that script in my mind.
Yeah. A lot of men did at that, because I was dating those men at that time, boys, pretty much at that time. But that was, and the divorced men that I meet now tell me that's what they did too.
That was the script.
Then. Yeah.
And so for me, I followed that script, got married, started a family, and then about 12 years into our marriage, and we weren't right for each other. And I don't want to go into the particulars of that, but we chose to separate. At that same time, I lost my $250,000 a year job.
Ooh.
In 2005.
What were you doing?
I was an insurance broker.
Oh, okay.
I found myself single, lonely, and out of work. Now, we had money from the divorce because we split our assets, so I had some resources to live off of. But I started to get addicted to online dating. That became my drug of choice, was communicating with women. So because I thought at first I thought, I'll just go online. I can punch in exactly what I want and someone would magically appear.
That's right.
And I remember I had this great first date with a really nice woman, but something wasn't right.
It's funny how we all remember our first dates.
Yeah, and I still know her name. We're friends on Facebook. Tish, if you're out there listening.
Shout out.
And then another date, and another date, and another date, and another date. Same thing. Always a great girl, great woman, nice date, but something wasn't right. And after about a year, I realized that something right wasn't me. Mm-hmm. So I started to read books about relationships. I was just really fascinated. What's it take to create a healthy relationship? But what was happening, Debbie, was I was addicted to the process. So I'm talking to women all across the country. I mean, I'm interacting with women through the internet, talking to them for hours and hours and hours every single night. I wasn't going to bed till 3 or 4 in the morning.
So that is an addiction. It's almost like a video game.
Yeah.
So,
and I was addicted to the feminine energy. I was addicted to, now I use the word feminine.
You were feeding off of it,
Yeah, I was feeding off it.
Yeah,
but
I get
what was
that.
happening was we were interacting, we were sharing our stories, and we were becoming friends. And I'm doing this with multiple women.
And this is through texting or
through texting
emailing.
and instant messaging through the dating apps and that sort of thing. But then they'd ask me for advice, because we're not meeting, because I'm talking to people all over the country. They'd say, hey, Jonathan, will you check out my profile and help me make it better? So I'd give my advice on their dating profile.
Interesting.
And I'd say, well, you need to do this picture or change this or do this. And then they'd make the changes. And then 3 weeks later, I'd get a phone call. Oh, my God, I met a great guy. Will you check out his profile and tell me what you think of him?
Wow.
And so I just started to intuitively read into men's profiles based on what I was experiencing, going through divorce and alimony and child support and visitation rights and all these different things. Not to mention, I'll be honest, I had an alcohol and cocaine habit at the same time.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, I was living in Orange County of all places.
Well, that fed your addiction.
Oh, my God, it totally did.
Because that just gives you this energy. Ooh, let's go find somebody else to
exactly.
talk to. I understand.
My addiction was only self-medication. It wasn't to get wasted. It was just it was more like, I'd say it was the equivalent of taking a Xanax. I just needed enough to keep me at an equilibrium.
Right.
But the women then would reach out and said, oh my God, Jonathan, your advice was dead on. And this was happening again and again and again. And then I started to hear, you should write a book. And so I wrote a book about online dating, an ebook.
Okay.
in 2009 or 10. I threw up a cheesy website because I dated an internet marketer. So I learned all about the coaching industry through her, and I learned about internet marketing and product sales and everything. So I put up this cheesy website, and within a month, I'm getting all these emails going, "Hey, would you like to be on our radio show?" Or, "Hey, would you like to audition for a TV show?"
Wow.
And
what year are we in now?
Pardon me?
What year is this that
This
we're
would
talking
have been
about?
about 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, 2010. So about
All right.
2010. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, this is fun.
Yeah.
So I started to
You
put
had a
some products
niche
together.
that you
and
didn't realize you had.
and my first coaching was like, here, pay me a Starbucks card.
Yeah.
And then I started to do the $1 a minute websites, if you
Right.
want to connect to me.
Oh, right.
And then I bumped it up to $2 a minute and
Yeah.
so forth. So,
But all your studying and information and intuition has value. At some point, you discovered
well,
that
at this
you're
point,
valuable.
I've accumulated over 20,000 hours of cumulative coaching and advice and
okay.
study and everything else. So, in some sense, I got a street PhD. I didn't get a, PhD. Oh, and I also, for quite some time, I was in a fairly long-term relationship with a therapist. So, and it was great because as I was a coach, I'd say, "Hey, sweetheart, here's the situation going on. Can you tell me the behavioral thing going on behind this?" And she would just
You had the
recite
insight.
well, we were together on and off for 6 years. I literally got a PhD from her plus my own work.
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So you knew you had a career basically in dating coaching, and women specifically of a certain age. Over
Yeah,
40.
I specifically talk to
45.
what's called midlife, which I call after baby making years and before retirement. So
Yeah.
I always say if you're 42 to 69, you're in that demographic that I talk
Okay.
to. And not that it couldn't be older or younger. It's just there's
Your
a uniqueness
expertise.
because the single population, the population that's single over 45 years old, roughly 75% of those folks are divorced. And so there's a lot of emotional trauma and baggage and issues that come up with divorce
Different
that's
issues
different than in your 20s and 30s. And
Or
so
you've never had that kind of. You've never been married before,
Yeah.
so it's totally different issues.
and that's why, when we decide on the topic why most dating advice is crap, I just thought it'd be a fun, to ruffle some feathers. But certainly we have to look at dating advice for 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds much differently than 45, 50, and 60-year-olds because
Absolutely.
there's so many more moving parts. There's, divorce, there's alimony, there's child support, there's family court is one part of the demographic. There's, health issues, there's parenting issues if you have senior citizen parents, there's erectile dysfunction. I mean, there's menopause we were
many,
talking
yeah,
about. There's
that we
a
were just talking
lot of
about.
different moving parts
Agreed.
that affect how we interact with each other.
Right.
And so dating advice in most dating advice is very generalized. That's the first biggest mistake with dating advice because you can't put men in a box or women in a box. Even if there's even if there's a propensity to something, it's still putting a gender
Yeah, you
most of
can't
the time
put
in
a
the box.
title and an umbrella over something like that when
Yeah.
everybody's so individual and all of their experiences in life, like you were
Yeah.
just listing, are individual. So certain experiences don't always mesh with other experiences. And even though you're the same age and you're both divorced,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you're going to be a good fit because all those other things come into play. And so now I understand.
Okay.
So it is a provocative title to
Well,
say,
there's two things that are
yeah.
going on with dating advice. Is that that you have to be be aware of the generalization. So when you go to some blog and read why men do this or why ghost, and by the way, I speak to mostly women. So I would say while the advice is a little bit different that men get, most of the advice women are reading is generalized. You may be able to apply it to what's going on, but it's rare because there's a lot more moving parts. The second piece of dating advice that's what I think is crap is that it feeds into people's egos and fear.
Okay.
It feeds into the
If they're
ego
not
part.
going to be able to keep up with what you're saying, or this is not their
Well, can I
feeling
give you
like
an
they
example?
Yeah.
So
We got to go with examples
and
today.
please, I hope I don't get sued by the author of the book, but I pulled out the book, the rules book, and some of the titles are: don't talk to a man first, and don't ask him to dance. Don't stare at men or talk too much. Don't meet him halfway or go Dutch. Don't call him and rarely return his calls. I'm just giving a sample, but all that advice is based on, well, first off, it's basing what they're approaching is the emotionally unavailable man, and saying use manipulative tools to get him to act a certain way. And that's not going to work.
Well, there's no authenticity in that.
Yeah,
if that doesn't
there's no
work,
heart.
If that's not who you are, how is that going to work for you to follow a protocol that someone tells you this is how I know how you should get? Every man feels this way.
Yeah.
This is the way you're going to lock it down.
Exactly.
Okay,
So that's
so
the
that's what
predominant
you mean.
reason why most advice is crap. And it's surface level advice. It's like, I'm a dating coach, and I always keep saying I'm going to hang up my hat as a dating coach because I say this tongue in cheek because I'm not here to teach you techniques. Send these 5 text messages to get him to do that, or do this to get him to do that, because that might work maybe in the beginning, but to have a healthy, happy relationship, we have to go so much deeper than the surface level advice. And so much advice is based on, for example, biology. Men are hunters, men are providers, women are, berry pickers, and they're gatherers and all that stuff. And sure, there's an element of biology in us, but what that advice doesn't contemplate is our childhood upbringing and the variety of different ways, and that doesn't even contemplate childhood wounds and emotional traumas we've maybe experienced as children, and then add to that our adult life experiences.
Right.
So you can't use biology just because there's there's maybe
gender definitions
exactly
attached to them. Again, going back, it's
by the way,
so individual.
And I love the men are hunters one that every woman wants to bring up. Men are hunters. They're supposed to chase. And I'm like, what do you think they're chasing?
Well, you know what?
No, but think about it. What are they chasing? When a man chases a woman, is he chasing, oh my God, I want to be in a happy, loving relationship? He's not chasing that. What's he chasing?
He's chasing the conquest of having the woman want him, right?
But all right, let's go one more step deeper. What's he chasing? What do men think about on every first date?
Sex.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
dating's an interview for sex.
Yeah.
I've been saying that since day one.
I know. So so you're married to this idea men are hunters, and but they're not hunting a relationship with you if they're hunting sex. So that concept doesn't benefit a woman, to say men are hunters.
Right.
Because, what are they really hunting?
Well, and girls, I know you're listening out there. Okay, so
I'm sorry, I go on a rant here.
I can attest to this, okay? It's because I'm a woman over 40 who's dated a lot. So most men, we already predetermined, or we've already assumed that that's the number one goal.
Yeah.
Or the most immediate goal. I'm not saying long term, but the most immediate goal. So I go into dating thinking, okay, this is an interview for sex. And there are different types that there could be a long-term relationship with this person that we're going to maybe have a sexual relationship with. Or maybe this is all it's going to be, and we'll let it play out its time and its way. I'm talking to you guys. You know what I'm talking about. And, I'm not saying booty call, but, friends with benefits kind of thing. And we'll let that go. So the initial meeting somebody allows you to bounce the ball back and forth, to figure out what kind of sex am I being interviewed for? So I'm telling you, from a woman's point of view, over 45, who dates, that's how I feel on a date. I mean, it's just...
By the way, I want you to know I love this. I never heard it put quite that way.
Well, you're getting...
Because I never thought of it, I was interviewing for a certain type of sex, but I see...
Kind of are. When you first meet the woman, are you like, oh, this could be a keeper? This is not a keeper.
Well,
but it could be fun.
I promote a whole different way of
that's true.
approaching
You're
it. I
different.
approach
I don't
I'm
wanna put
approaching
you
because
in a-
I approach it from a very conscious, intentional, purposeful way of determining compatibility first.
It's respectful,
before
if you
yeah.
ask me.
And so I as much as hey, listen, I want to get laid, I put that on the back burner.
So from a biological,
And by the way, I say that
really,
I by the way, I intentionally said it that way
Yeah.
because I'm looking for a real connection.
right, and you've
And I've
I
outgrown
was gonna
that
say
piece
you've
of me.
come to that. Not every man that I date or any of my girlfriends are dating, or even my daughters who are in their 30s are dating, have that grown to that and have come to that. So, and again, I think that ball that bounces back and forth when you're physically on that first date kind of tells you what their intention is and where they're standing, whether they are looking for something deep, and because I'm not going to tease somebody who is if I'm not with them. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I totally understand.
But you have to play that bouncing ball game back and forth to figure out where it is. Now, I had to, and my friends again are going to attest to this, and so will my family. I have had where I wasn't ready, and it frustrated men who were, and I've had to let that go. And now I'm in that other end, like you. I've come to that place that says I want a deep connection with somebody, lasting forever. Third act, boom, done. And again, different criteria than it would be for anybody younger dating. So that interview for sex thing on the first date is different from me, and I have to feel out the man I'm with to see if he's where you're at or if he's where I used to be at.
So this is where it gets a little tricky. When there's intense chemistry between two people, that can cloud judgment, because when there's lust or limerence going on, I like the way Marianne Williamson says to her audience, he goes, when two people meet and there's intense chemistry, what's the first thing you should do? And her audience screams out, pray, which I love, because it's really, you're taking your life in your own hands at that moment, because it can absolutely cloud judgment. And so, like, for example, one bit of dating advice says, don't interview someone on a date. And I'm here to say the exact opposite. The dating process is an interview.
Yes.
It is an interview. Now, does it have to be an interrogation? No.
No, you just shouldn't have a list of questions and go through
it.
Even
if you did, if you did.
In your head you do.
Yeah, but even if you had it on paper and you shared with the person why you're doing this.
Oh, wouldn't that be weird?
It'd be weird, but you know what? You can get more real with another person.
That's true.
See, this is where dating is very surface for many people. It's all about just have a good time, go with the flow, don't get very serious. In fact, I just did a video called Why You Should Talk About Donald Trump on a First Date.
I saw it.
Okay. And the idea is, all right, so that ruffled some feathers right off the bat. But what's the real purpose of talking about that? Because they say, well, two things. Politics and religion are a taboo on a first date. Why? Because they can be combative subjects.
But they also, you want to know that, I would think, up front, because you don't want to waste anybody's time. Even
but the dating advice will tell you not to talk about it. So I'm saying why you should talk about it. But here's what you're really looking for. If someone rejects your politics or your religion, and they're very staunch of rejecting it, chances are that's a closed-minded person.
Right.
And what you're looking for is open, because someone might have voted one way or the other, but at least hear them out. Mm-hmm. If you're already closed-minded, where are you going to be closed-minded in other areas of relationships? So what I talked about in that video, and if it's okay, I'd like to share with your audience, a fantastic book called, I'm going to show everyone here. It's called 8 Dates by Dr. John Gottman. 8 Dates by Dr. John Gottman. Dr. John Gottman is a renowned relationship therapist who's studied relationships, and the 8 Dates is basically the 8 fundamentals for a successful relationship. A couple of the things he talks about in this book are conflict resolution and open-mindedness or flexibility. And so why you're asking those questions is more of a behavioral thing to see how open-minded or closed-minded a person, and if you are in conflict, how do you resolve those two? Now, everyone will tell you, well, don't do that on a first date because it's supposed to be just fun and have a good time and have drinks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why would you want to develop a relationship with someone, start to make out, maybe even have sex, only to find out the two of you are so incompatible, and yet you're attached to one another? And women, you know this because the minute oxytocin kicks in, you're attached to the wrong guy. And so the dating process is an interview, in my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. If you don't agree with me, go with the flow.
I've been saying that for years.
Okay.
But
I'm saying traditional dating advice, why I think it's crap.
Which I think is okay to know that, ladies. I think it's okay. Like what I was saying at the top of the show, a lot of locker room talk goes down.
Do women talk in the locker room?
Well, men do too, because you
well, that's where that all
wrote a
came up.
blog about it. But yeah, because we talk about, how'd that date go last night? Ooh, tell me about Mr. So-and-so that, you were talking to on Tinder or whatever. How did that go? And then inevitably, a lot of the same issues come up over and over again. And there is a huge, huge frustration out there for this demographic who is dating. And I can't speak for men, but, because here's what we feel. I'm going to give it to you straight. What we feel and I'm speaking on behalf of all those women in the locker room and beyond that I speak to that are single. Dating apps have kind of messed us up. And it's because it's a buffet. And the men know that. And so here you're having your interview, which I call the interview for can I have sex with her and what kind of sex will it be, long-term, short-term, whatever. And but then, okay, I had that piece of chocolate cake. Now I'm going to go back and get some cherry pie. And all of a sudden we feel like they ghosted us. So there's ghosting and mosting. And we're recipients of that, being that we're not in that demographic anymore, or even, our millennials right now aren't really doing that, but that are looking for family and a long-term marriage and kids, getting secure in their jobs and all that. We're beyond that. So now we are, and I even know the younger ones don't like the whole dating. It makes it easy to connect with somebody. Of course, you were addicted to that, but it's detrimental. And I don't know if men, when I talk to men, they like it because they like the buffet. Women, not so much. They really want that deep connection. 98% of my girlfriends at this stage in their life, I'm included in it, want that connection and are scared because we go into that first date thinking there's a buffet out there.
So interesting enough, if I talk to my men friends in the locker room, they would mirror what you just said. Women treat it like a buffet. They go through all their options. They swipe when something doesn't look right. So just for the record, both men and women are saying the same thing. Okay. So and here's the thing. Now, here's where people are having challenges. The minute a relationship butts up against its first issue, that's where you can go back because of the ease of going back. That's one of the things that are going on.
So it makes it easy.
So it's easy to go back, whereas before when we were based on proximity-based dating, and what that meant was you could only date what's in your purview, what's in your line of sight.
Who you work with,
but
you meet, at a dinner party, whatever.
Yeah, so there was a lot more scarcity going on, and right now there's the perceived abundance or perceived choice. That's what's going on. But online dating has been bastardized. By the way, I've always been the biggest proponent of online dating. And to this day, nearly 50% of all relationships for people over 45 years old are happening through some online connection.
Right.
So now that doesn't mean 50% of people are getting into relationships. It's just those ones that are, it's happening through an online connection. If you want to do a little social experiment, anytime you see a girlfriend post, I'm in a new relationship, ask her where she met the guy.
Yeah,
and half the time.
90% of the time
so
it was
online dating is a spoke in the wheel where people are connecting. What's happened now is there's an absolute ambivalence going on. There's an apathy going on. And there's this entitlement going on where the amount of effort that they put in, the average person puts in, and I can pull up my app right now and show you whether it's a man or woman's profile, 98% of them are crap. Poor quality photographs. They're putting in sunglasses. There's shadows. There's the Snapchat crap all over their face. There's all this. They're putting in crappy effort. So what does that send psychologically to the person that really wants to be in a serious relationship? It's saying, hey, if you're putting out crap,
where
there's
we
just
go
nothing.
from here.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what our relationship will be? Will be crap.
And most people are oblivious to this. I talk to women all day long who think they have these fantastic profiles, and I rip them apart. Mm-hmm. There's a little tough love in what I do. So, because the quality you put in is a reflection of the results you're getting out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that's the reason why. That's one reason why we're having such an issue with connecting via online.
Because people are so laissez-faire with just like, I don't care, we'll just see if it happens kind of thing.
It's just go with, and rather than really studying what does it take to be in a healthy, happy relationship. So the vast majority of men and women think, and I know this is going to piss a lot of you off. You think you hold the vision to a successful, happy relationship. And I can tell you, most of you are at, first or second grade level. Now, guys are in the preschool level, so it's not that far off, okay? Men are at preschool, women are first or second grade in really understanding the dynamics to being in a healthy, happy relationship. That's where a book like this is so valuable, because it teaches you the real fundamentals of how to be in a healthy, happy relationship. And so, but women, because they are more relational, they think, and again, I know I'm pissing you off, so please forgive me.
It's okay.
But you all think you know your stuff.
Challenge him.
And I tell you, I talk to women all day long who don't know shit. They think they do, but they don't.
But are we overthinking it, Jonathan? Come on, let's talk. Okay, yes, there are books, and this could be very helpful, but connection and love and attraction. All of that has been around forever.
And by the way, healthy, happy relationships is a small percentage of the population. By the way, when you think of 50% of divorce rate, how many dates have you gone on? How many relationships have you had? How many relationships I had? How many relationships have you had over the years? And so to suggest that we are in a population of happily married couples, or not even in happy couplehood, that's a small percentage of the population. We have a lot of people in relationship who are miserable with one another. So let's just because people are in relationship doesn't mean that they're happy. I'm just suggesting really learn your stuff, both inside and out. By the way, inside would be my book. What the heck is self-love? We're going to talk
about that because we
sorry, I had to do a plug for it.
No, we are. I read it over the weekend. It
starts with an inside work. And then you can prepare for the outside. And if you think you're overthinking it, people are not putting enough effort into it. They're putting this much effort into it because they're hoping for limerence and lust and chemistry and attraction to solve all their relationship woes. And if love was the real antidote to it, everybody who got married would stay married. And that's not happening.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All
and
right. I'm on a rant.
Okay, it's okay. And I'm doing a little devil's advocate stuff here too, just so you know. But what I'm saying is it should be so much more organic. And if we overthink some things, and I know you just qualified it really well.
Oh, I want to challenge the word should.
Okay, where did I put
it should
that?
Be organic?
Okay.
You knew I was going to do this to you.
Maybe,
it would be nice if it was, but it's not the reality of it.
Okay.
Because it would be nice if it was organic.
It's not so much the reality of it.
Okay, if that's not our reality, then we have to change the paradigm. And that's what I'm here. I'm a voice. I'm a contrarian. I'm here giving the anti-advice out there. I'm telling women to do the exact opposite of what they heard. It's kind of like the George Costanza method of dating in Seinfeld.
Well, there's a lot of authenticity to what you're saying.
Thank you.
There is. And I love that I can challenge you on this stuff. It doesn't mean, like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate in a lot of ways. But the fact that I can challenge you is, I'm kind of a voice for the general population. I could think I am of women over 45 who have been frustrated dating and wanting to hope that you're going to bump into that guy at Whole Foods and the magic is just going to happen.
Yeah, so Cinderella was a fantasy
Yeah,
too. By the way, for the record,
and by the way, we want the fairy tale.
Yeah, and by the way,
What's
for the
wrong with
record,
the fairy tale?
but here's the thing.
Is that what I'm waiting for?
Yeah, and because you're waiting for that dysfunctional guy to become functional. No offense, because the sad reality is that most of us are deeply wounded. The core wound for every individual is I'm not good enough. That's the problem. That's the most common core wound. I'm not good enough. I'm not likable. I'm not worthy. And by the way, those who seem confident on the outside are oftentimes the most scared person on the inside, just because they might seem like exactly. So, there's no wonder that there's a challenge going on. And so authenticity is the real antidote to this. So, for example, some dating advice will tell you, some women will be told, never share your feelings with a guy. And I'm here to say you do the opposite.
Oh, yeah, no.
You want, and by the way, there's other dating advice to say, don't ask men what they feel, ask them what they think. No, you want to get into our feelings if you want to get into our heart.
So how do we do that? How do we do that? Because there's a lot of, we're always thinking.
I was going to say something smart ass.
Okay,
but no.
Well, we always think it's, it's got to be a sexual thing.
Yeah,
and then we can break that barrier and then we can get a little deeper emotionally.
Actually, most men, deep down, it's the over 50 crowd, men. I mean, men in their 20s, you're out, you're biologically designed to spread your seed, and you're most oftentimes
that's part of what we're up against, right?
So, but the 50-year-old crowd, men are thirsty for their heart to be open.
Okay.
They're thirsty for it.
I'm going to take
They
your
just
word on
don't know
that.
how, and they don't feel safe.
Okay.
Because the rules, like that book, The Rules and everything else, has made it so unsafe to really be authentic with each other. That's why most dating advice is crap, because all these rules have taken out the humanity of a person to be real. And so when I say share your feelings, I don't mean vomit your feelings, and I don't mean to be overly dramatical. I just mean express what you're feeling and create a dialogue with another person. Come from a place of curiosity.
On the first date, rather than...
Absolutely.
Okay, so
let me reframe that. You can share what you're feeling. I'm feeling a bit frustrated with the dating process. How's it working for you? Get real instead of the surface talk is like, you like sushi? Me too. You like snowboarding? Me too. You like the Rolling Stones? Me too.
So go deep and emotional to get the idea of where they're coming from and let them know that you want to open their heart.
Yeah. It's now, and by the way, I speak to women. Ladies, and I just want you to know something. I recognize you are absolutely frustrated with the buffoon behavior men have and their absolute inconsideration and the way they actually objectify. So I'm not here in the men's camp, okay? I'm here to say most men are fucked up. Okay. In fact, I start from that place. I just assume everybody has some deep emotional wounds, and I'm looking for you to surprise me. In other words, I come from a place of compassion.
Which most men don't. I'm here to tell you that are in this age dating demographic.
Oh, by the way, I did a post on my Facebook page yesterday, and the ranting that went on, and I realized that the real ranting is the deep emotional hurt that many women are experiencing. Yeah. But it's not because of men. The hurt is a byproduct of it, something deeper that's happened. So
it was a post, we can tell the audience.
Oh, God, yeah.
It was a post about
can I just say what it said?
Wallet. Yeah, go ahead.
Man, you're meeting a man for the first time.
Think
on
about
the first
this,
date,
ladies. Call us.
And he forgets his wallet. What are your first thoughts, and how would you respond?
Anybody want to answer that? 323-843-2826. Call us.
And before I left, there was 400 or 500 comments, which was fascinating.
I saw that. There it is.
By the way, that was a social.
It's up on the screen.
That was a social experiment I did.
I love how you throw those things out there.
Well, because I'm not here to talk about the surface level dating advice. I'm here to go deeper into the emotional effects of why human beings act and behave in a certain way. In fact, on a completely side note, I was watching a TV show called Criminal Minds, where it has the FBI FBI profilers solving crimes. And what was fascinating about this TV show is that they go through the behavioral, all the different experiences the criminal, if you will, or the assailant has gone through to come up with a makeup of what's going on. And we're all the same. We all have some sort of wound or trauma or event that causes us to act a certain way.
And all we really all want is love.
Exactly.
And we have to start with ourselves.
Yeah, we're touching the book, by the way.
We have to start with ourselves. And this is a great book.
Good.
We're going to talk about in a few
Okay,
how it breaks down. But that's really a big part of where things fall apart.
Yeah.
Is that we ultimately, every human being wants the same thing. But where we come from and how we process has to do with behavior. And like you said, when some of the answers that came on Facebook yesterday were not coming from a place of, they're coming from a place of deep, deep, long lost hurt.
Yeah.
That's been there for a long time. And
Yeah.
you have to dig into that. And I think we're at a point in life, I think there's been a big energetic sort of universal shift, if you will, then from, let's say, when you and I were teenagers and in our 20s, even our 30s and 40s, where it's a big conscientious time, where we're more we're reading more into things now. We are going deeper. We're fixing ourselves.
Yeah.
We're buying books. We're getting help. We're going through groups. We talked about USN, the University of Spiritual Psychology. I had a show called Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, because if you're only on the surface and you haven't done deep enough and got into the real essence of who you are, then you can't move forward and be successful with anybody else in your life.
Exactly.
So, but this is a new paradigm.
It's interesting. When you and I grew up, the idea of going to therapy as a child or our parents
wasn't
that
even
was
around.
It was barely
wasn't
around.
even an option.
Now I know lots of 20-year-olds that go seek therapy, which I'm really happy that they're making some sort of effort. And I'm a big proponent
part of us as parents.
Of personal development, self-help, and spirituality. And psychotherapy as part of a daily practice. Like, I'm a huge proponent. The reason why I wrote this book was to be a catalyst, because the dating conversation is the catalyst to the deeper conversation.
And we were
because
talking about that earlier.
dating triggers the number one emotional health issue facing Americans today. Bump, bump, bump. And that's a lack of self-worth.
That's right.
The
Which
process
you're talking
of
about
dating
earlier not being enough.
Yes.
And if we're told that at a young age, that's our mantra.
Yep.
That's what we believe. I mean, I lived that mantra in the acting world.
By the way, can I share something with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I allowed to curse?
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay,
right.
so
go for it.
Well, I call them exclamation. I use them as sentence enhancers.
I think we'll be okay on YouTube.
I used to when I drank a lot, I would say, "I'm so fucked up. I'm so fucked up. I'm so fucked up. I'm so fucked up."
Meaning that's a good thing.
Yeah, but like, no, it just meant that I was drunk. But I would have realized, think about those words I'm saying. I'm so fucked up. What am I actually telling my subconscious? And all I meant was I'm high.
But you didn't. You got fucked up because you are fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And so you were actually feeding into what you were telling. It was a full circle thing that you were creating in your head.
Do you want to know something? I wasn't aware of that particular mantra I'd been saying up until just recently. Good. And now I just say I'm high or something. So
I feel good. I feel good.
So the reason why I'm a proponent for personal development, self-help, spirituality, therapy and that sort of thing is because we're a nation here in the United States in particular, very disconnected from, not family per se, but a lot of other cultures a little bit more enclosed in their family. Mm-hmm. We've been taught to be individualized. That was the baby boomer. Exactly. The baby boom generation, you're on your own.
We're free, empty nest.
And there are a lot of lonely, hurting people out there. Both men and women are truly hurting. And so they use the dating platform now we have a vehicle through this little device. We have this vehicle to connect with another person.
Quickly.
And even if it's momentarily, it's better than being absolutely alone. And so one of the reasons why swiping is, and by the way, I would say it's a blessing and a curse, internet dating or the digital tech aspects of dating. It's a blessing in that we get access to people we wouldn't otherwise meet in our daily lives. But the curse is it's become a crutch.
Yeah, I agree.
It's become a crutch to really doing the inner work.
We're coming on our last few minutes, and I really think, I know.
I thought we had another hour.
Time flies, right? What do we do? If there's a positive and a negative to it, where do we sit? As people over 40, how do we make this better?
First, take a break from dating.
Okay.
Right out. Just take a break from dating. I don't care if it's an hour for some of you, or it's a day or a week, a month or year. And begin a daily practice of nurturing yourself. And so in my book, I talk about the idea of the oxygen mask, when you're flying on an airplane. The idea is to start with self. And the most important relationship you're ever going to have is with yourself.
That's right.
So form a really good relationship with yourself.
So stop everything and start with yourself.
You don't have to
do these, because you've got 30 self-love techniques and ideas and principles in this book.
Well, I want to be clear about something.
Yeah.
Take a break for a day. I'm not saying take a break for a lifetime. Just begin a practice today.
Okay, gotcha.
And because here's the bottom line is, you're going to enter into a relationship still with your baggage. You're the right partner for you. You're going to work through this stuff together.
Well, and you should be able to if that person's right for you.
I mentioned to you before, real quick, I want to tell your audience, there's 3 types of relationships out there today. There's the casual relationship, the codependent relationship, and the co-creative relationship. And
Will you break those down
Yeah,
for us?
I want to, because the casual relationship is all about my needs being met. And a lot of people are either in casual relationships or codependent relationships, meaning you're gonna feed my needs type of thing. In other words, I'm dependent upon you to feed my needs because I'm needy. And here's the dynamic that often happens. One person's in a casual relationship and the other person's a codependent relationship.
Which is going to break them apart eventually.
Because codependent people will get along. They won't be happy, but they'll get along together. And casual people will be along until someone else comes along.
Right.
If they're the co-creative relationship is going right from the get-go. I want to be in a fully committed relationship.
That's where we should be.
In fact, my dating profile on Match says, first sentence, I want to get remarried. I'm very crystal clear on that.
Good.
There's no ambivalence.
So nobody will swipe you.
Yeah, that's not exactly. I'm being clear.
Yeah.
And I say, and I want to do personal development, relationship-wise, like this book as an example, as part of our practice for building a healthier, happier relationship with one another. So that's the place I start. Now, a lot of women go, well, I could never tell that to a guy. Yeah, you can.
Because that's your end game. That's your intention.
Yeah.
Let them know. Let them know.
And be very upfront.
Yeah.
Figure this stuff out, read a bunch of great books, and then have them on your coffee table. And when you're dating a guy and before you have sex, go, this is how I'm going to operate in a relationship. How are you going to operate?
Which is, clarity is always the number one thing.
Yeah.
I think in career, in relationships, in the way you handle situations in life, with clarity, you'll have an end game. Otherwise, if you are wishy-washy about what you want, what the goal is, then you're going to be wishy-washy in the process.
Yep.
And I think that has been one of my biggest curses along the way.
Well, stop it.
And now I'm being told, is that I wasn't clear.
Yeah.
And I can tell you in the beginning, I wasn't clear because I didn't want to be clear. Right. I just wanted to be a free bird because I was in a 35-year relationship. I was like, whoa, guess what? I get to date again. And I got a lot of attention. So I was attention feeder, addicted to the attention.
So
I liked it.
I want to share something
Go.
with you, and it's an invitation for you to do the same, because in my dating profile it says, I want a relationship where we spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, going away on trips, and building a team-based relationship that leads to partnership.
That's clarity.
So it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
Okay?
I love it.
And my invitation to every woman watching this and every guy watching this is write down what it looks like for you.
Wow.
And then stick to that. And if basically your invitation is, this is what I want. You put up the piece of paper and say, this is what I want. How do you operate?
Yeah.
And see where they go from
Yeah,
there.
well, that way you're going to filter out. It's a filter, and at least you can get a start with somebody, and then you got all the other stuff that comes into play. All right, we're running out of time, and what I want to do is to give my audience how they can find you,
Sure.
how they can get this book and the other book that you wrote, the ebook you wrote, and anything that you have coming up, and then you're going to leave us with words of wisdom.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
Here we go.
Prepared. Where you can find me is jonathanaslay.com. I have a great program called Midlife Love Mastery for Women. It's $1 to join for the first month and less than a cup of coffee a day, or half a cup of coffee a day, where I shoot videos on a daily basis and I do monthly calls. It's my way of giving back in a very inexpensive way. That's on my website. Where else can you find me? On Facebook and all the other forms of
Instagram,
social media. My book, this is something I'm very proud of. This was birthed after the loss of my son.
I'm sorry about that, by the way.
Yeah. And this is, and I talk about him a lot in here, but it's a journey of basically, it's a vaccination to chaos, if you will. And so this,
Interesting way to put it.
yeah, and so it's about personal development, self-help, and spirituality. And you can go to Amazon and get it there. What else?
Yeah, there's a link on your website as well.
Yeah.
It's a lovely book, I must say. Jonathan sent me the book, and I was able to read it over the weekend, and I was touched in many ways. And a lot of stuff rang very true to me. My practice is about balanced life, and starting with self-love and self-care. Self-care, one baby step at a time, and you suggest baby steps, taking it slow, changing habits over a period of time from the bad ones to the good ones, and figuring out why we think we're not enough, and starting right here with us. So I have to thank you for your time and energy today. It's been very eye-opening. I hope it has been for you guys. You girls didn't call in, but I know you're listening. Anyway, I'm going to be back here in 2 weeks. My guest is Claude McKnight. He actually had a show here for a while called Hang 'em Claude. And so we're going to talk about passion and career and staying fit and healthy while you're traveling all over the world. So join me in 2 weeks. That's the 27th of August. I look forward to seeing you again. I thank you, Jonathan, and I thank you for spending the time with us today. I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.